2024 draft haul is complete for GM Trent Baalke down there in Jacksonville. Damien, your overall thoughts for his haul here in 2024?
I think it starts at the top, right? Round one, you lose Calvin Ridley in free agency, and you say, listen, we got to get Trevor Lawrence a number one wide receiver. And I've been on record as someone that lives in South Carolina. I watched him play his whole career. He was always at his best with a big body receiver. Freshman Justin Ross, T. Higgins. He's always been better with those type of guys. Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU brings that. 6'3", 210 pounds, 4.33 in the 40. Explosive athlete that still has a lot of room to grow as a route runner and route salesman. And I think he can really pair well with Trevor Lawrence, and then they got Travis Etienne in the backfield. I think being able to get the vertical game going in his passing attack will be good for Trevor Lawrence and allow him to stretch the field and keep defenses back.
Yeah, I think there's some things, the smaller portion, little intricacies in Brian Thomas's game. I think us here at TDN want to see some, absolutely, coachable things that we want to see him improve upon as we move forward into the early portions of his career. But I want to hop over to the defensive side of the ball. I made a couple additions. I know you wanted to get into one specific one, and that's Mason Smith, defensive tackle from LSU. He's a Trent Baalke type of body, big physical body. What is your projection immediately for this Jacksonville defense? Where in the AFC South, there's no more Derrick Henry. He's now in Baltimore. But teams are also they're going to still run the ball. They still got Jonathan Taylor, right? Yeah. With the Indianapolis Colts.
I think this was one of the picks I felt like was a little bit of a reach, right? Okay. But like you said, it's Trent Baalke. Yeah. And it's a Trent Baalke guy, 6'6", 300 pounds, 35-inch, arms. As a freshman, this was a monster. He was a monster in the middle of that LSU defensive line. That he hasn't been healthy ever since, right? He hasn't been fully healthy. I think he even talked about that. I now feel like I'm 100%. And if they're getting a fresh 100% version of him, I am not going to question Trent Baalke. We questioned him, when he drafted Trayvon over Aiden. Trayvon had a big year last year, so I don't want to question him again. But I do feel like it was a little bit of a reach because I feel like you could have went ahead and grabbed a top-tier corner, but then they still came back and got one of our guys.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, that's what I want to get to, Jarrian Jones from Florida State. Now, if you talk to Jarrian, he'll say, I could play DB. That means inside or outside. He lived at the nickel spot in that loaded Florida State Seminoles defense. Would have loved to see them compete in the CFP. That's another conversation for another time. We won't get into that, what happened there in the ACC. But Jarrian Jones, I think, look at this Jacksonville back end. They brought back a Ronald Darby, right? Play nickel, play outside. Tyson Campbell's still there. But they still need talent. And Jarrian Jones is going to be a guy that ran mid 4.3. He can 6'1". He's long. He's physical. Not afraid to stick his face in the mud as well. I really like Jarrian Jones' game and what he's going to offer as far as even a culture, physical athlete in the secondary in Jacksonville.
Absolutely. And this is Tyson Campbell's a good young corner, right? But they've always needed someone opposite of him, to give him those two kind of bookend corners, that nice duo. And I think Jarrian Jones can do that. Like you said, he did thrive in the slot and in the nickel spot for Florida State, but I don't think it's a situation of what can you do, what you're asked to do. I think he was asked to be a nickel. I think he can play outside. And if that happens, then you hit on that pick. Mason Smith hits. Now we're looking at Trent Baalke in a whole different light as a GM.
Things happen quick. I know we talked at the top about Mason Smith from LSU. Then he doubled back down, went back to the LSU defensive tackle grabbed a guy that I really liked in this process, Damien, Jordan Jefferson from LSU, West Virginia transfer down there to the SEC. Really enjoyed seeing him down at the Senior Bowl. Twitched up kid, value there on day 3, someone that even come into special teams as well, within the trenches where it matters a little bit, maybe block a kick or two potentially this year, but that kid's twitched up. That kid has a high effort. You know what you're going to get in him immediately along this Jacksonville front. So overall, 10,000-foot view, right? Guys they have not played. They haven't even been fitted for their helmets yet down there in Jacksonville. Overall grade for Trent Baalke's haul here in 2024.
Give him a C-. It was an average class right now. Of course, this grade in 2 years could look vastly different if they're able to hit on that second to third round range with Jarrian Jones, with Mason Smith. Love Brian Thomas Jr. and the potential he has. But again, potential is one of the scarier words when you talk about the NFL scouting process and the NFL draft. But I think everything is there for him to be a really good receiver and pair well with Trevor Lawrence.
Huge year in 2024. Jacksonville Jaguars pushing again to be atop the AFC South, looking to make the playoffs the second time in just the last 6 seasons.